Beneath the restless surface of our planet's oceans lies a world governed by ancient laws. It is a realm of perpetual twilight, where survival is not granted to the swiftest or even the strongest. Out here, survival is claimed by the smartest. Meet the ocean's ultimate apex predator. Orcinus orca, the killer whale. But to call them mere killers is a profound understatement. They are the undisputed master strategists of the marine world, operating with a level of coordination that rivals elite human military units. These oceanic titans command every ocean on Earth, from the freezing ice floes of Antarctica to the sun-drenched waters of the tropics. Tonight, we journey into the mind of the ocean's greatest tactician. We will witness how a combination of multi-generational culture, sophisticated language, and terrifyingly precise hunting strategies has elevated the orca to the very top of the global food chain. This is not just a story of brute force. This is a story of intellect. To understand the killer whale, we must first look at the machinery that drives it. Despite the name, orcas are not actually whales at all. They are the largest members of the dolphin family. And like all dolphins, their evolutionary superpower is housed inside their skulls. According to research published by National Geographic, the orca brain is the second heaviest of any marine mammal. But it's not just about size, it's about structure. Their brains are highly folded, expanding the surface area for processing information. They possess an incredibly developed paralimbic system, the area of the brain associated with spatial memory and emotional processing. Scientists have even discovered that orcas possess spindle neurons, specialized brain cells linked to social organization, empathy, and intuition. Until recently, these were thought to exist only in great apes and humans. This sheer processing power fuels their primary weapon, echolocation. By pushing air through structures in their nasal passages, orcas produce high-frequency clicks. These clicks travel through the water, bouncing off objects and returning to the whale's lower jaw, which acts as a tuning fork, transmitting the echoes to the inner ear. It is a biological sonar so precise, an orca can distinguish between a Chinook salmon and a coho salmon from 50 yards away, purely by the density of the fish's swim bladder. Combine this sensory mastery with physical supremacy. A mature male can weigh up to 6 tons and reach nearly 30 feet in length. They can swim at speeds approaching 35 miles per hour. Yet what truly makes the orca a global superpower isn't just their biology, it's their society. Unlike a wolf pack led by an alpha pair, orca society is fiercely matriarchal. Everything centers around the oldest female. In the waters of the Pacific Northwest, these grandmothers are the generals. They are the keepers of knowledge. Some female orcas can live up to 90 years. Decades after they stop reproducing, they continue to lead their pods. Why? Because in an ever-changing ocean, experience is the difference between life and death. The matriarch remembers where the salmon run during a drought. She remembers the hidden seamounts where prey gathers. She holds the ecological map of her ocean in her mind. This knowledge is passed down through what scientists officially classify as culture. Much like human regional cultures, different orca populations have unique diets, unique hunting techniques, and uniquely distinct languages. A pod off the coast of Washington state speaks a completely different dialect than a pod in the fjords of Norway. If they were to meet, they wouldn't understand each other, and their strategies reflect these cultural divides. While fish-eating orcas chatter constantly, the mammal-eating orcas, known as transients, hunt in terrifying silence. They know that seals, sea lions, and other whales can hear their calls. To catch a mammal, the ocean's greatest communicators must enforce strict radio silence. Nowhere is the strategic genius of the killer whale more evident than here, in the brutal freeze of Antarctica. Survival in this unforgiving environment demands more than just hunting. It requires engineering. The prey is a Weddell seal, fat, nutrient-rich, and resting safely out of reach on a floating fortress of ice. For any other predator, the hunt ends here. But this specific ecotype of orca has developed a hunting technique so complex, it is taught over generations, almost like an apprenticeship. First, they survey the battlefield. They measure the thickness of the ice and the position of the seal. Then, they fall back and form a phalanx. Moving in perfect synchronization, the pod charges the ice. At the final second, they dive as one. The displacement of their massive bodies creates a localized artificial tidal wave. This is wave washing. It requires an understanding of fluid dynamics, timing, and flawless teamwork. But the strategy doesn't end there. Once the seal is in the water, the orcas rarely go for an immediate kill. They often pull the seal back, releasing it again and again. While it looks like cruelty, marine biologists believe this is an underwater classroom. The matriarch is teaching the younger calves how to execute the wave wash and how to handle dangerous, thrashing prey safely. The hunt is as much about education as it is about sustenance. Halfway across the globe, on the rugged coasts of Argentina, a completely different orca culture faces a different logistical nightmare. Here, the prey isn't stranded on ice, it is hiding in the shallows. Southern sea lion pups are naive, playing in water barely deep enough to cover an adult human. To reach them, an orca must do something that goes against every instinct of a marine mammal. It must leave the ocean. Intentional stranding. It is one of the most dangerous predatory strategies on Earth. If the orca miscalculates by even a fraction, it will remain stuck on the beach, crushed by its own body weight under the baking sun. It is a high-stakes gamble where the margin of error is zero. This extraordinary technique is not innate, it is learned. Biologists have documented adult orcas physically pushing their young onto the beach, acting as a spotter, and then dragging them back into the water if they get stuck. It takes years of perilous practice to master the physics of the shoreline. Out of the thousands of killer whales on Earth, only a tiny elite fraction in Patagonia risk the intentional stranding. To truly grasp the strategic dominance of the killer whale, we must look at what happens when the apex predator of the mammalian world collides with the apex predator of the fish world. For millions of years, the great white shark was the undisputed tyrant of the coastal seas. But in recent years, scientists in South Africa noticed something bizarre. Great whites were vanishing from their historical hunting grounds. The reason? A specialized pair of male orcas. To hunt a great white, brute force is suicidal. A shark's bite is devastating. So, the orcas use their intellect to exploit a biological glitch in the shark's armor, tonic immobility. When flipped on its back, a shark enters a state of temporary paralysis, tonic immobility. The orcas know this. Working as a coordinated strike team, one whale rams the shark to flip it, rendering the deadly predator completely helpless. What follows is surgical in its precision. The orcas aren't interested in the whole shark. They target one specific organ, the liver. Rich in squalane, a highly nutritious lipid, a great white's liver is a massive calorie-dense prize. Using teeth like interlocking scalpels, the orcas extract the liver with surgical accuracy, leaving the rest of the carcass to sink to the ocean floor. It is a targeted assassination. When news of an orca strike ripples through the chemical senses of the ocean, tagging data shows that every great white shark in the region immediately evacuates the area, sometimes not returning for months. Even the monsters of our nightmares check under their beds for killer whales. The sheer adaptability of the orca means that as the prey changes, the playbook changes. In the icy, pitch-black fjords of Norway, the prize isn't a single large target. It's millions of tiny ones. Atlantic herring gather by the millions. A single orca trying to catch individual herring is a waste of calories. Instead, the pod turns to cooperative geometry, a strategy known as carousel feeding. Operating like sheepdogs, the orcas surround the massive school of fish. They dive deep, forcing the herring toward the surface. By blowing precise rings of bubbles, They create a visual net, a shimmering, terrifying wall of air that the fish refuse to cross. The trap is set. The herring are compacted into a dense, terrified bait ball. But the orcas still don't bite. Instead, they unsheathe a physical weapon. The tail slap. A mature orca can swing its massive fluke with such velocity that the underwater shockwave physically stuns the herring. Hundreds of fish are instantly incapacitated, floating helplessly in the water column. The pod then calmly moves in, picking off the stunned fish one by one, like hors d'oeuvres on a tray. It is farming, harvesting, and feast, executed with flawless military precision. Yet, for all their supreme intelligence and untouchable status in the natural world, the master strategist has encountered an opponent it cannot outthink. Us. The International Union for Conservation of Nature, the IUCN, currently classifies the global orca population as data deficient. This means their global numbers are hard to track. However, zoom in on specific cultures, and a tragic reality emerges. Some populations are in a fight for their very existence. Take the southern resident killer whales of the Pacific Northwest. These are the fish-eating specialists, the matriarchies that rely almost exclusively on Chinook salmon. But human dams, overfishing, and climate change have decimated the salmon runs. Unlike transient orcas, the residents cannot simply switch to eating seals. Their culture, their very identity, is tied to the salmon. They are starving. In 2018, the world watched in heartbreak as a southern resident mother named Tahlequah carried her dead calf for 17 days, swimming over 1,000 miles. It was a display of grief, profound, undeniable mourning that shattered any illusion that these creatures are unfeeling biological machines. They feel, they grieve, they suffer. Beyond starvation, their apex status works against them. Because they are at the absolute top of the food chain, they absorb every toxin in the ocean. Polychlorinated biphenyls, or PCBs, banned decades ago, still persist in marine food webs. As orcas eat, these chemicals bioaccumulate in their blubber, ravaging their immune systems and causing severe reproductive failure. And then there is the noise. The ocean, once an acoustic playground for their complex language, is now a roaring highway of shipping traffic. The mechanical din masks their echolocation, blinding their acoustic vision, making it harder to hunt, harder to communicate, harder to survive. The master strategists are being outmaneuvered by a changing world. But the story of the killer whale is not a eulogy. It is a testament to resilience. In regions where marine protections have been enacted, where waters are kept clean and prey is managed sustainably, orca populations are thriving. They are the ultimate survivors. Armed with a brain capable of profound empathy, complex language, and unrivaled tactical genius, they remind us that intelligence on Earth is not a human monopoly. There are other minds in the dark water, minds that scheme, teach, grieve, and triumph. The orca. The wolf of the sea, the apex of the apex. As long as there are oceans, they will patrol them, a haunting, beautiful reminder of the wild, untamable power of the natural world.